What is it like to live alone? Love the solitude, but hate the loneliness. There's a fine line between them. On the one hand, you can do as you please. On the other hand, everything is your own responsibility, so if anything's going to get done it's all up to you. And on the gripping hand, when you're personally in need, like loneliness or medical emergency, you're on your own. I have never closed the bathroom door, which is especially nice when you're getting out of the shower with no foggy mirrors. It's awesome. Life is on the U channel 24/7. But you gotta really love that programming. Nobody ever runs the taps while you're in the shower. For better or worse, your shit is always where you last left it. Edit. Sometimes I can't type. You are forced to discover if you are a good or shitty roommate. What everyone else has said. Plus this weird phenomenon, it can feel lonely, and suddenly a friend or family calls. You get a little perked up speaking to someone. Then in about 5 minutes you can't wait to get off the phone and join your own solitude again. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Simply, the best. No checking in with someone, no explanations required. If you just want to walk out the door and do something, the freedom is just unmatched. You don't know how annoying it is / was to bounce your intentions off of another person until you don't have to do it anymore. Nice and peaceful until you have visitors, then you have to run the vacuum, tidy the living room, spray the Febreze, hide the dirty dishes, etc. Quiet. So quiet. Edit. Lol to all the replies thinking it was a complaint. You can be naked all day without grossing anyone out or giving them the impression that you want sex. It's like being on vacation. Permanently. All the stuff remains where stuff is supposed to be. You put a Coke in the fridge and it's still there. The sink never gets clogged with hair. The room temperature is always 18°C. If you don't feel like cooking food you don't have to. It's wonderful. Far superior to any other kind of living. For the most part, it's fine. I mean, it's nice to have people to spend time with, but my condo is my bunker. It's my safe space, and everything in it is there, because I chose it. Downside, I'm dying alone, and may sit rotting for days. Plus, you can't blame people for leaving stuff out, or spilling Lego to find with your feet. But, yeah, everything is the way I like it, and if it isn't, still my issue to deal with. I lived alone for less than a year. It was great at first. I could do whatever I want, whenever I want without anyone judging me. It was so nice to have my own little private oasis. It did get lonely sometimes though. I had people over sometimes, and it was cool to have company over whenever I want, but after a while of living there when my guests left I felt this sometimes overwhelming loneliness. It got very depressing. Pretty great, frankly. It's arguably the best way to find out if you are good company for yourself, and I think it makes one more self-sufficient. It depends a lot on your age. The older you get, the more it sets in that this might be a lifelong arrangement. Positives. 1. Nobody leaves dirty dishes in the sink. 2. You don't have to feel awful if you leave a dirty plate once a week. 3. You can stay naked 24/7. 4. Bathroom is never busy. 5. You can masturbate in the kitchen and nobody cares. 6. You can play Barbie girl on your phone loudly. 7. You can use all space you want. 8. Nobody ever breaks your things. Negatives. 1. There's no one to watch Farmer Wants Wife with. 2. No one to potentially cuddle with. 3. You can't borrow things from roommates. It's pretty nice. I don't have to clean very often, since I try not to make messes in the first place. Back when I had roommates I had to clean constantly, so I much prefer living alone. Has its ups and downs. I find myself being a lot lazier being alone. I don't clean as often, because it's just me. Personally, clutter, laundry, and dishes out doesn't bother me, but it compounds to the point where it does bother me, but it's a mountain at that point. Not efficient. My roommates throughout college worked out and this helped get me to work out. When that went away, I stopped. I always had positive roommates with good direction and motivation in their life. By myself I tend to become content easily. I'd make it a competition in my own head to strive for their standards, and this helped me develop a lot of good habits. They motivated me to do laundry, cook, clean, etc. Yeah, it's nice not having to address someone every time you walk through the door, but it's very easy to become detached. I was definitely over living with roommates in college, but I miss it now. I always had multiple roommates, so just one would have been a good balance. Having a good roommate is better than living alone emo. A bad one is another story. Living alone by choice at my age is fine. And when I bore myself, there is always Reddit. Nice. Until you hear a noise in the next room, at night. Reading the comments is making me sad. Can't wait to get out my parents' house and live alone. For me, it's bad for my mental health. Combined with my job, which already left me isolated, I started to feel like I was in prison eventually, because weeks could go by without me talking to people. Multiple factors were at play, but that's the effect it had on me. You have the freedom to live as you please. I've been alone since my wife passed away in 2015. It's been a hard adjustment because I miss her every second of the day. However, I try and stay busy and focus on doing the things I love. The hardest time is after dinner, because this is when we would sit down in the den and sit next to each other and talk. I moved near my daughter and get to enjoy her and my grandkids whenever I want, and that's been wonderful. Overall, living alone would not be my first choice, but I'm determined to make the best of it. Pretty damn peaceful. I spent the first 47 years of my life living with people, been living on my own the past 6. At first the silence and autonomy was weird, but now I love it so much I honestly can't imagine ever living with another human again. Obviously COVID has made it a little trying, but I'd prefer the occasional pang of loneliness to the never-ending compromise, noise, and mess of sharing my space. Imagine never asking someone what do you want to do for dinner? Best thing I've ever done. I read a comment that talks about how nice and peaceful it is when you're alone, and thought I'd jump in with the other side of that. That peace and tranquility translates into boredom and sadness if you're not an explicit introvert. For everyone that talks about how nice it is not to have a roommate messing things up, you start to really just want to have someone around just for interaction. A pet really isn't going to fill the void of human interaction, not that I don't love my dog. It has been a problem for me, because then when I have tried to move in with girlfriends in the past, I don't have a lot of experience dealing with someone else in my living space. Living alone really doesn't prepare you for the necessary compromise and frustration of being around people, and avoiding such things only conditions you to further distance yourself from others. Amazing. Absolutely, positively amazing. I have a dog, so I haven't had to be completely alone during the pandemic, but it's just fantastic. Not having to deal with anybody's bullshit other than my own, which, trust me, is more than enough to deal with. Oh, and ask Reddit, that applies to me. At first it was fucking fantastic. I could pee with the door open, walk around naked, make as much noise as I wanted really without judgment. That was August. Now the fact I moved into a new city with no friends has hit me, and coming home to no one is the loneliest feeling ever. And on top of that, as a woman in her early 20s, I get kinda scared when I'm out places at night knowing how, if I don't show up at home, there's no one to be worried. Maybe if you aren't depressed and morbid it's more fun, who knows. I moved out of my shared apartment with my boyfriend late last year. It is the first time I've ever lived alone in my whole life. It was very strange at first, and so much quieter than I expected. It's taken me a long time to get used to it. Like others have mentioned, it is great most of the time being able to watch whatever you want, eat whatever / whenever you want. But a lot of the time it is very lonely. There's no one to talk to unless you have pets and talk to them, which I do, but it isn't the same. I love not listening to my ex-husband complain. I enjoyed it for years and years, is for me the best way of life. I was always able to entertain myself and liked being able to do whatever I want. I don't think I could go back to that now though.